Guys, today we are sewing today. This is my first Sew Fabulous video, and this is going to be very beginner friendly, entry level. So if you already know how to sew, this video might give you some tips or it may not. So this is because I want to start from the bare basics, because this is how you start. And once you start these things, you can lay the foundation on how to make like incredibly fabulous pieces. But wait, before we go any further, I want to announce my sewing membership, and this is for my online sewing classes, and it's going to include this video content that I'm putting right now, but it's going to be a little bit more detailed and a little more structured and a little more helpful for my memberships. And a few things that are going to be a part of my memberships are you're going to have exclusive access to the videos. So I'm going to post these videos ahead of time so that you guys can see the videos ahead of time. People who are in my membership can see the videos before regular YouTube subscribers. I'm also going to have member shout outs. I'm also going to connect with you on social media so that we can have one-on-one help. I'm going to be doing some lives, some premieres, things like that for my membership people, so that they can get like just really good help on how to learn how to sew and rework items. I'm also going to have priority comments and DMs for them. So if they give a comment under this video, they're going to take priority, and I'm going to be just a little bit more specific for them. And also, one of my favorite things, I'm going to do a free seasonal grab bag, and that's going to include all the Sew Fabulous things that I use to help my sewing journey. And I'm going to be, just dropping some cool gems in those grab bags for my members, because I'm just want to show my appreciation for them signing up for my membership, and also I just want them to be able to sew just as good as I do. So back to the video. Today's sewing machine that I'm going to be using is my Quantum Stylist 9960, and this is a computerized sewing machine, but you do not have to have this sewing machine. I'm going to be using this sewing machine to teach you the techniques, and this will pretty much be the same standard for all sewing machines, but do pay attention to your sewing machine guide, because these things may differ or vary ever so slightly. This is a kind of a high-tech machine, so it might be a little bit more like, it might either be a more helpful or a little more like specific, and yours may be a little bit more basic, but pretty much these are the standard things that I'm going to be using on this machine. So I have my notes here, and these are all the definitions and all the ways I go about using these items, and I'm going to explain that in detail on and demonstrate how to do these particular things. This is the foundation. Without the foundation, you don't have a house. So you start with the foundational items, and then you build on top of that. So this is your foundational video, okay? Save it, go back to it, and perfect these items, because once you have a solid foundation, then it's only up from there. So I hope you guys like this video, and keep watching. Okay, first things first, we are going to thread our bobbin and thread our machine. I'm using a small black spool of thread, and I am going to add it to the pin on my sewing machine. Sometimes this pin is this way, or sometimes it's just sticking straight up, depending on your sewing machine. So you want to make sure that your thread is coming from underneath, and that you add the clip on the end of your pin to keep your thread in place. Like I said, your pin may be lying to the side or might be sticking straight up, but there's usually a clip that you can add on the tip of it to keep it in place. Next, you're going to use your sewing machine guide to guide the thread all the way around and add it to your bobbin. There's usually a diagram on the top of your machine that actually tells you exactly what to do. So if you just follow those directions, you will nail this part. Now again, with most machines, this is pretty standard. This is how my machine works, and they pretty much have similar ways of being threaded. And so after you wrap it around that last silver guide, then you're going to pick up your bobbin, and you're going to place the tip of the thread in the hole of your bobbin. Now some bobbins have one hole, some have a lot of holes. This one actually has one hole for this description, and I feel like it was just better when teaching. But I normally use the bobbins that have multiple holes, which you'll see later on in the video. You're going to then place your bobbin on the bobbin winder and you're going to snap it into place. Make sure you snap it into place. Mine is a computerized sewing machine, so on the screen it'll show me if it's snapped into place or if it's not, and that it's ready to be wounded up. Some machines don't have that, so make sure that you snap it in place, because that actually changes the needle from going up and down and actually changes it to winding the bobbin. Now once you have that bobbin snapped into place, you're going to hold on snugly to the tip of the thread while it starts to wind. That just allows the thread to stay tight on the bobbin. Normally I find that that thread piece snaps off, but you can also take snippers and scissors and snip that piece also. Now my machine has a sensor letting my computerized sewing machine know when my bobbin is full. So it is important that you do it correctly, because my machine, it will actually stop when it's full. I don't know if all machines have that option, but mine does. Once your bobbin is full, you're going to unclip it, and there you have a full wounded bobbin. Next, we're going to add our bobbin to our machine, but first we have to thread our machine. So you're going to remove that thread from the bobbin guide and add it to the sewing machine guide. And again, every sewing machine, as far as I know, has a numbered area to show you exactly how to thread your machine. So practice makes perfect. The more you do this, the more it'll become second nature to you. And they're usually numbered 1 through 5 or 6, depending on how many levels your machine has. Mine has 6. Well, it has 5 on the machine, and then it has to go through the original guide by the needle. So this is how my machine is threaded. It goes through the numbers, up, around, and when you get to the needle, you put it through that last guide. Now it's time to add our bobbin. As you can see, mine has a clear cover that I remove, and I take the old bobbin out, and then I pop in the new bobbin. So you want to put that bobbin in, and you want to make sure the thread is coming from the outside, and it's going to hook in a little guide that is on the bottom of the bobbin. As you can see, I'm clipping that thread in and I'm bringing it to the back of my machine. Now some machines have this bobbin area in front where you remove the front case and then you pop it in. That's a little bit different, but this is a more advanced machine, and it's a little bit easier just to drop it in. The other way is not hard either, but this is the way you do it with this machine. Now another amazing feature of this machine is that there is a needle threader. Now I've become very good at just eyeballing the hole and putting the needle in, but it never hurts when you have a needle threader. And how you do this is you cup the needle thread underneath the little hook, and it actually propels the thread in the needle for you. It makes life so much easier, and that's another reason why I love this machine. Now that we've threaded our needle and added our bobbin, we are going to take the end of the needle thread, and you're going to use your handle on the side to bring your needle down. And what that's going to do is it's going to actually get the thread from the bottom of the bobbin and bring that up forward so that you can put those two together. And that's how you start your sewing machine thread. It's pulling up through, and then you want to pull it underneath the foot and pull it backwards. Now let's sew our first piece of fabric. Right now I'm using denim, and they are wrong sides together, but normally when you sew, you do right sides together. The right sides are usually the darker sides of the fabric, the wrong side are usually the lighter side. Sometimes fabrics have the same on both sides. If that's the case, then it really doesn't matter what side you put together. On your machine, there'll be some guides on the side, and you're going to lift up the presser foot with the lever in the back, and you're going to slide your fabric underneath the foot. And the guides on the side tell you just how much seam allowance that you're going to have. And normally I use about a 1/4 inch seam allowance, but it just depends on the project. So you're going to slide your fabric underneath that presser foot. Use a lever to press the presser foot down. Do not forget to put the presser foot down. And then you're going to start by lowering your needle with the handle on the side. Now my machine is computerized like I said earlier, and I have a start and stop button to make my machine go. Some machines have this, some actually have a pedal at the bottom. So depending on your machine, that's what you're going to use. On this machine, I have a couple of knobs on the front, a start and stop one, a speed, and a needle cutter. The speed I like to start off on slow because you always want to do a back stitch when you're starting. That just keeps the thread from unraveling. And you're going to go 2 steps ahead and 2 steps back. I actually went 4 ahead, but you only need about 2 stitches ahead and then 2 stitches back. My machine also has a reverse button, and so when I hit the reverse button and hold it, it goes back twice, and that just locks my thread in place. Do not forget to backstitch every single time you start the seam. So next you just press the start or stop button or press down the pedal, and you're going to start sewing using that guide on the side to keep your fabric straight. And that's pretty much it. This is the beginning way of starting a stitch and a seam. I pretty much do this for every item I make. This is like the foundation of sewing. Once you get this, you can pretty much make anything. Now once you get to the end of your sewing stitch, you want to do the same back stitch that you did at the beginning. Again, this locks in the thread so that your item does not unravel. Then you want to lift up your needle, lift up your presser foot, and then pull your fabric from underneath. I do have a thread cutter, but I also have a loop in the back that actually cuts my thread, which I prefer. Now this is what my stitch looks like. It's kind of hard to see because I did do the wrong sides together, but this is what the seam looks like once I stitched all the way from the top to the bottom. And right now my inside has a raw edge, and the raw edge is where there's no clean edge. It's just the fabric is just, just there. And depending on the project, I like the raw edge because it gives it kind of a vintage feel or like a, reworked feel. But sometimes I like to have clean hems too, depending on if I'm making it for myself, somebody else, or if I wanted to just go with the project. With denim, to get the fray edge, you do not hem the edge, but I'm going to show you how to hem the edge just in case you want to learn how to do that. And so what you're going to do is you're going to use your serger to clean the edge, which is what this is right now, a serger from the pre-done denim. Or if you do not have a serger, this is how you do it on your machine. You add it to the machine just like you would do any other stitch, but you would put it on the very tip. And your machine will have different options on a zigzag or just different stitches that can help you be able to make the ends not unravel. And so right now we're going to use a zigzag stitch on this to show you how to just keep the edges from unraveling. So you're going to place that fabric underneath the foot and you're going to zigzag. And just follow the previous steps with the straight stitch as you do with the zigzag stitch. And you don't have to go backwards and reverse for this. So that's only for us to lock in a straight stitch. Now that's what your zigzag stitch is going to look like, and you just take your scissors and cut off the excess fabric to clean it on up, and now your fabric will not fray. Now let's actually hem the edge so there is no loose edge. You're going to fold your fabric 1/4 of an inch in, and you can use an iron to press that down. And you're going to add that to your machine and you're going to stitch it along the line. So I'm adding my zigzag stitch on the tip to stop it from fraying, and then I'm going to fold it and stitch it flat. You can use pins. I love to use Wonder Clips, especially for thick fabric. It stops it from puncturing just to hold it down. Or like I said, you can use an iron to keep it flat. And then you're just going to place that under your machine and you're going to sew it along the line so that you can have a clean hem. Now lastly, we're going to show you how to take out a seam. This is a seam ripper. It has a razor on the end of it, and it just allows you to take out the thread piece by piece without ruining your fabric. So there's a few ways that you can use this seam ripper. You can go on top of the fabric and you can actually slide that little pick underneath the stitch and cut it. And the more of these you do, the more of the inside will come loose. What I like to do is use the first technique, and then the second technique is to, once you get a piece of it open, then you go ahead and you use that to take out the stitches inside the seam. And that's pretty much it, guys. That's how you remove a seam. So that's the end of our first sewing 101 video. Thank you guys for watching. I'm going to be doing a part 2 on how to create structure and shape to your garments. Because of course, if you want your items to be fabulous, you got to know how to make it fit properly, right? So there's some specific foundational things that you got to do in the beginning in order to create those perfect shapes for you. Go ahead and hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you guys for watching, and I will talk to you later.